we can put them where we want.
I think if you have a commitment with make a commitment with White Mountain Survey, then you could, for next spring, like you could roll some over for that, right?
Right, he was looking for a deposit to start to hold the.
$500.
Yep.
Well, it's 6 of them, half a dozen. You're either taking the unspent money and putting it into the undesignated fund balance and then creating a new budget, or we're spending more money. I'm happy either way. I think it's cleaner if we present it to the public with, as part of the budget proper. So.
Would that mean that they would add another line to their budget and go back to the budget committee?
Now we've got a beach and dock maintenance line at that $7,500, and if it's been overspent.
That was this year we asked to replace the docks. For the docks,
Right.
that was.
I mean, is that
And then we had the pavilion painted.
right?
So you've got a line called recreation areas in your budget. You got one called beach dock maintenance in your budget. And it, I guess my thought is, rather than rolling it into docks and bridges, which is where it traditionally hasn't gone, I would rather see us say reconsider and present a revised budget that would include provision for this for 2018. Let everybody along the way see exactly what we're doing.
And then it's open and transparent.
Well, and we had a budget reduction, so I think it
Yeah.
not bad to remind the budget into that. Okay.
I like the idea of it being put in next year's budget and you presenting the cost.
Right, and then when we get the design, we can put a warrant article.
Yes.
Right. We figured the CIP project anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't put the cart before the horse, so.
Exactly.
Right.
So
So you guys will come back, reference the budget, right?
the next budget meeting is on the 12th, so just tell the office that we're changing that.
Totally unrelated, do you have an opportunity to talk with the Parks and Rec in Wolfboro?
I haven't, but
They might be able to help you
Yep.
with your life plans.
Excuse me, if you don't mind, I just had a question. Would you like to move on adding to that now for your selectmen's budget? And then I can just have everything ready for budget committee?
I don't know that I have a copy of the proposed budget for Parks and Rec. Do you have it?
I can grab it if you'd like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good idea.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can I comment on some of these proposals? And I have been here on day one when this was initiated, but there are restrictions on that area. Primarily the beach side of the berm, nothing can be added.
we're talking now about regrading it, because unless we raise the height of that stone wall, the
Berm.
sand just washes over the top of it.
That was brought to the initial proposal's attention, and it was,
Thanks.
according to the applicant, it was a sand accumulating beach, and it isn't a sand accumulating a beach. It is marl that they put in there for fill, number one. It was not clean washed sand. to meet the state regs. And I walked through that beach area after they made it, and I lost a pair of sneakers in there. That's how soft it was. And that's all found its way out into towards the swim rack. The other one is if you're gonna change the direction of flow for that water into the wetland behind the porta potties towards my house, I would ask that you consider the impact of my lot as far as elevating the water level. You know, it won't be much, but it'll be something to be considered. And have the state from New Hampshire, when they did the road, they made a berm around the culvert on the east side of the road, which prohibits water from flowing out into that wetland so that the water can get recharged and filtered. It wouldn't be an act of God to go out there with a shovel and open it up, but that's something that, if you plan on changing the direction of flow, should be considered. And considered also the impact on my property, and I have the buffer of that unaltered wetland between myself and the beach. Now, are you planning on trying to increase the roadside of the berm, the size of it?
I don't think Gina has much on her mind other than what I told her.
Yeah.
You know, I understand. I think that's something we have to be careful of.
Well,
I was thinking primarily more out towards the 19 Mile Brook side.
yeah.
Try to pitch things, but I don't know what it looks like back where the porta potties are. And that's one of the reasons we need a good survey, so we know which way things are flowing.
Yeah, well, it was intended to flow towards the lake. I don't know if it did or not.
All of these questions would be answered by the survey, the engineer. Okay? You all set?
Yeah,
We don't have a plan.
You don't have a
You all
plan?
set?
Yeah, yep.
You're all set? Any more questions by the board?
A little housekeeping on this.
Do you have something?
Yeah. I move that we increase the Parks and Rec. Do we have to reopen it? Can we just, Parks and Rec budget for 2018 by $7,000 in the beach and dock maintenance line to accommodate the survey and engineering work here, which would bring the grand total for 4520 to $43,761.
Is there a second
I'll second.
for discussion? Does that 7,000 include the deposit for the study
Yes,
Yeah. I thought-
and the permit?
no.
No.
No permit. So permit and any cost would be, next year we'd talk about it for the year after,
Well,
correct?
we have money in recreational areas,
Yeah.
Okay.
and then that permit's good for 5 years, so.
Right. And what are we talking in terms of permit cost?
Well, the last one we looked at was $1,500.
Yeah, I was gonna put something in that, and that one included some site planning. This is a bigger one, it involves a few more.
And it's two.
You got two, you got
Wetlands and-
wetlands and shoreline.
So
Okay.
it's a little more complicated.
All right, so are we squeezing ourselves if we do 7,000? Again, I'm not looking to throw money at things, but.
No, Steve hasn't thrown any money at it either, so.
Yeah. And he has a lot of money
I
there.
know, yes. I think 7's enough.
All right.
Okay.
It'll
Okay.
certainly get us.
I'll
And-
call-
And then if we need to find money next year, we'll find more money and get it done.
Yeah.
But
I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 3-0.
Okay.
Thank you, folks. Have a nice
Thank
holiday.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Holiday coming up? I know about that.
There you go.
And we're staying right on time.
Jacket for the year.
Hi, Sue, come on down.
We're on the same team.
Yeah, we,
Thank you for your help. Have a nice holiday.
Well, what you get
you're
with
going?
Yeah,
How are you doing?
Come, Jim.
Thank you for your patience.
Nice work.
business suits is a hyphenated word now.
Yeah.
She's all business.
I need to talk about cemetery abandonment again. This is our cemetery log that you asked for the last time I was here. It's probably not exactly what you wanted, but it's stuff I've been accumulating since I've been a trustee. Most of it is inventory of all of our cemeteries with photographs documenting conditions. Still waiting for some from you, by the way.
So this is the real cemetery
That
book.
cemetery we did with Bill Williams,
Yeah.
that I forgot my camera in.
Oh, you're waiting on pictures from me?
Yeah.
No, I've probably got them someplace.
Right
I
next,
apologize.
I'm sure you can,
right next to my folder.
sure you have them all filed in a carefully.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Yeah, they're all electronic someplace. It's just a matter of finding
I
it.
know.
Nice.
So in the front is a summary of the cemeteries and a little bit of information about each. We do want to continue with the abandonment process. We feel that it's really important because you're not supposed to spend public money on private things. Basic concept in New Hampshire, probably in every state. And these old family cemeteries are technically private things. By declaring them abandoned, it becomes a public responsibility for maintenance, which allows us to have Bill Williams go in once a year and mow them and pick up the brush, and it's all legal and it's all.
So are you coming up with a warrant article for this year? Is that how you go? Correct?
No,
No,
we want another public hearing to abandon another group of them, and here's our proposed list.
We've notified the heirs or whatever.
Thank you. Check out the list of what we would like to do now. There are about 62 cemeteries altogether. And I think we abandoned about 8 last year. And there are a handful of private
Take
ones.
Bradbury Burley's wives, is he like Henry VIII? He had many wives?
4,
4.
supposedly.
Just didn't learn.
That he admits to.
And yeah, and that one, for example, there used to be 4 red painted posts marking it. And
Put it out there now?
no, they've fallen over, they brought it out or whatever. You can tell that there was a cemetery there because it's a depression and it's all moss. But it's right on the side of 171 on a knoll.
When did those posts fall down? They were still there last year, weren't they? Go ahead. Anyway. They're gone now.
Is there,
Last year? No, it wasn't.
Would it be
Did you go out
appropriate-
last year?
I think it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago.
So you're proposing that we
have a public hearing?
abandon all of these cemeteries, all 34?
Yep.
Or declare them abandoned? We're not abandoning anything. We're actually
We're actually
taking responsibility.
taking responsibility for them. It'd be better if it was worded that way in the statutes, but it isn't. And
Is it, are we limited by the statute as to how we announce this?
yes,
Really?
It's
I
a,
mean, I think we can at least add some language. We can't not say what the statute says.
this
I mean,
paragraph at the end
Yeah,
is what is in the RSA. No, that's a permission slip you're looking at.
I'm sorry. Well, I'm supposed to be with
Right here.
that.
That's the
Yeah, I
wording for
didn't put
public
page
notice,
numbers
right?
on them. The listings that I've written give the name of the cemetery, the location, and the oldest marked stones, and that's what's required in the RSA for the notice.
Do we want to do this in January?
Can't,
It's gonna be
like
February, I
60
think.
days or 90 days or something
Between
like that.
60 and 90 days of when you post the notice,
Can you and Karen work together on that?
yes. I figured, you know, we're not doing anything else in February, might as well.
Yeah.
Have another
Yeah,
pumpkin.
I hate to editorialize, but I'm gonna. If I were presenting this to some, and having gone through the issues that we went through before, I think I'd reverse the last two sentences. So that if any descendants were located in grant permission, blah, 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 the town of Tuftonboro might, by majority vote of the selectmen present and voting, may declare these burial grounds municipal cemetery for management purposes, and should be managed by the cemetery trustees, who shall assume all authorization and rights of natural lineal descendants. And then say, the vote declares them abandoned by the heirs. I mean, somehow get the abandonment out
Out of the middle.
yeah, you follow me?
Yeah.
It might make it gentler.
Yeah.
More like we're taking responsibility rather than we're, that, I don't know why the legislature chose that particular word, but it causes
Yeah.
any number of heartaches.
So if I take that out in the middle, and then I could say, the vote declares them, quote, abandoned, close quote, in accordance with New Hampshire law.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good
Something
idea.
like,
That's
yeah,
reasonable.
abandoned by the descendants or whatever.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
It's your notice. You
Yes.
guys are on the hook for it, so.
Right.
What happened to you? I thought you were on the hook. Jesus.
No. Now,
Be on the hook?
as a practical matter, do we want to try and do this in February? Or do we want to,
Wait till April.
Wait.
What are the notice requirements?
it has to be advertised like 60
Well, you
days in
put it in
advance or
the,
something.
if you put it in the paper this week,
Yeah.
for example,
Yeah.
the hearing would have to be between 60 and 90 days from the date of publication.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it gives the
I'm just
descendants
thinking
time
that
to
after
come
town
forward.
meeting, it might be a better time to schedule a hearing than before town meeting. Just,
We'll look at the calendar
Yeah.
and figure out,
And does that constitute, we have somebody here in the audience that might know, does that constitute notification if we do something at the town meeting?
no,
you know,
no, it's specifically spelled out in the statute.
All right.
You have to put it in a local publication. Well, I mean, maybe the town report, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
publication.
now,
We could explain it in the town report if we wait till after town meeting to
Yeah.
do it.
Right, or you could present it at town meeting
And-
as
and
something
talk-
that's coming out. You
Yeah,
could
I
stand
could.
up and do that.
We could.
Yeah.
Okay.
now, as to descendants of these 34 burial grounds, the cemetery trustees confident that we're not overlooking anybody that that might.
These are cemeteries that we have visited. I have visited all of these. I believe they're all represented in this book with some photographs. Some of the other trustees have visited also. Now, we have different trustees this year than we had last year or the year before, so there are only a handful of, I'm a descendant from one of these cemeteries. So all of my siblings are descendants of one of these cemeteries.
Feels.
Morrill, on Federal
Morrill.
Corner Road. Crazy. field cemetery is the owners of the house, the families that lived in my parents' house. The first guy that built it was Fields.
And there's the cemetery that's enclosed, and then there's stones outside, aren't there? The enclosure?
That's the Jones Cemetery, which goes with Glenn Hodgkin's house. So there's actually 3 cemeteries, Fields, Jones, Jones, Fields, and Hunter.
And it's Horn without an E.
That's what?
Mhm.
Horn, well,
Is that
it's
how
probably
it's-
both. It probably, if you read all the stones, there's some with the E and some without.
And Glidden is a recent name, although it's 1940, yeah, Amelia. So there may be some people that are.
I took off the ones that I felt we needed to do more research on, that there may be abutters. For example, what's the one on the 109A, Whitney Young, is that the name of it?
Yeah.
Whitney Young Cemetery, there's Proctor's in there, and Proctor's own the house across 109A. So we should go knock on their door,
Right.
talk to them.
You've done the no-brainers.
So I took that off the list for now. So I don't expect,
Yeah.
much interest. The ones we did last year, those 8 or 9, were ones that we had perpetual care money already, and we were already obligated to be in there. And there are also ones, like the Thomas Cemetery in Tufton Road Neck, that have a lot of descendants in the area. And there were no complaints
Mhm.
about that.
Yep.
So there was much more interest in those 8 than there is in these, as far as I know.
Who did that new fence down at Thomas Cemetery? That's nice.
Good Neighbor Fence from Madison.
Silverleaf.
I'll tell you, it's
PVC?
Silver Lake. Silver Lake, that's Madison.
Yeah.
Um, I think he is Elaine Sargent's niece's husband.
You're getting out there.
So, yeah, they did a
She
nice
was in
job.
English.
We weren't happy with the way it came out the first attempt, and they went back out and adjusted it so that it looks good. Everybody seems to be happy with that. So if it's all right with you,
Full speed.
we'll go forward with the hearing process on abandonment.
Sure.
Just nod, it'll be on
Yes.
camera. It'll be all right.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll be okay.
Thank
And
you.
we're gonna shoot for a hearing after town meeting, is that right?
We'll try, we'll see what the calendar looks like and your meeting schedule, because we can do it at one of your regular.
Yes, right, it's just a regular stuff. You know how it is in the weeks leading up to town meeting, there are always
Right.
a lot of last minute things that need to be
Yep.
dealt
Yep.
with
But
and
then sometimes you get a lull in like the 3rd week in February where you have no meetings.
Really? I'm looking forward to that 3rd week in February.
He's got a couple projects he's gotta do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't, I guess, given historical abandonment proceedings here that I came into it early on, I guess I wouldn't want you to limit yourself on notification. If you think it would be appropriate to put out public notices more than just
Well,
once.
we put something in town meeting, in the warrant,
Yeah.
in the town report, I mean, not the warrant, in
Yeah.
the report.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's,
In your report, right?
Good public
You do
policy.
a report for the town report. Good enough.
you can really expand on the whole concept.
yeah, you're
You
limited
write
by the
a
RSA.
a novelette in there about,
Right. Okay, part 2,
There's more?
there's more. The gift. We received a check for $50,000.
Buy a permit for a perch beach.
Nope,
Okay.
it's just
Children.
for cemetery work. Here's a copy for you, Karen.
Oh, thank you.
Right, so we need to have a
So
public hearing on that.
we do need to have, the selectmen do have to have a public hearing to accept it, an unexpected revenue.
Do we have to file a notice in the paper? Or just have a public?
Public hearing. Well, all our hearings are
well-
I
noticed.
assume it would be in the paper.
Yeah, yeah, and,
Post it.
RSA 3195B.
That should tell you, I didn't look it up, but
Yeah,
that should tell you what you need to do. Karen probably has it memorized, so.
I can always go back to previous ones.
yeah,
On the back, this is the lawyer's, on one side is my questions to the attorney,
mhm,
the other side is his opinion back to us. But on the side with my questions, the terms of the gift are spelled out here.
Is that your questions?
Yes,
mhm.
in the big paragraph,
Okay.
and the fourth line. The donors gave the money with the principal and any interest available to be spent for cemetery purposes, including but not limited to repairs, maintenance, expansion, and planning, meaning all things that would be covered under normal annual cemetery expenses of the town, as well as for special projects such as reconstruction of walls and fencing, planting and removal of trees and shrubs, erection and replacement of monuments, etc.
So there's no time limit on this?
Other than, I don't know, the check will be no good after a certain amount of time.
No, I mean as far as spending the money.
No, it would be a cemetery expendable trust fund,
Okay, so we're setting up another trust.
yes.
Okay.
And it will be a trust that anybody can donate to. It's not limited to just this money.
And is it managed by just the cemetery trustees or the
Trustees of the trust
trustees
funds.
of the trust funds?
So,
All right.
so the trustees of the trust fund are agents to expend, or the cemetery trustees are agents to expend?
The cemetery trustees are agents to expend. The trust funds,
All trust funds are managed by trustees.
the trustees of the trust funds manage the investments,
Mhm.
and they make sure that we're not withdrawing for the wrong reason,
Right.
Mhm,
just like they
To
do with
check
the
it
The
out.
check
selectmen.
and the balance,
right.
like Jack, our treasurer.
Right, so we have to have, that's why we have to have the purpose of the fund.
Can you work with?
What I still don't know is I've got to go one more step and see if we need a warrant article to set up that fund. Or if you guys can do it at your public hearing.
Yeah,
I mean-
I'm just reading
If by accepting.
the, yeah,
I think
it says that
depends.
the selectmen could act, it sounds like here to establish a trust under RSA 3119, Roman 2. So I'll begin, I don't know
Right, and of course, I mentioned it the last time I was here, they do want it to be anonymous. So that was one of the questions that I asked the attorney, and
Mhm.
we'll give the check to the trust funds.
Yeah, and if they're asking for anonymity, then we have to swear to that. So even if we see.
Well, we just don't show you the check.
Or whatever, somebody's gonna see it, but I mean, we're ultimately responsible for the actions of the government, so.
Right.
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 Okay.
And you'll sit down with
So-
Karen
so-
and come up with a date for that.
So there's a little more work that needs to.
There's one more step, and that's where, you can go forward with all of this. But the other question is whether we need a warrant article to
establish a
formally
trust.
establish the fund, or whether by accepting it under these terms,
Yeah.
that
Okay.
that takes.
As I read what's here, it seems to suggest that the governing body can establish the trust.
Right.
But we're gonna
There's
look
so
at
much
RSA.
conflicting language between the cemetery statutes and the selectmen statutes. Big surprise, huh?
Well, there is everywhere in the RSA.
Right, so
So,
nothing is,
yeah,
nothing is simple. All right, well, I will,
Okay.
work with Karen on
Well,
that.
we'll get you home before 7 o'clock.
Well, I hope so. You've still got some more to go through, right?
Really?
Well, thank you for
Try
your
to
efforts.
stay.
Have a good holiday.
We'll get done then.
Yeah.
Keep saying, I don't know what that's all about.
Quite ready.
And you may need to do some encumbering. We may need to encumber money for you all
No.
this year? No?
No, we
You
finished the
you spent
fence.
it all? Good.
Looks nice.
We finished the fence. We have a meeting tomorrow night. He'll be submitting the bill. Oh, I didn't look. Did he remove the stone wall section?
Not yet. We're waiting to see, or should wait to see how much money we have left and if it covers it. That's why his attendance tomorrow night is extremely important.
And we also had an emergency at the Morrill Cemetery where a big,
Did you call
huge,
911?
No.
the neighbors fortunately called it in, and a huge branch overhanging that was just dangling. Andy Carpenter went in and stabilized it with ropes. He cut off as much as he could reach from the ground. Got somebody to climb the tree and stabilize it with ropes. And then he had to wait for the ground to get a little solid so he could get his big equipment across Joe Ewing's property
Yep.
to reach it. He didn't want to mess up Joe's property. I said, do you think Joe would notice?
Just give him something to fix.
Yeah, that's right.
So Joe was extremely cooperative because the right-of-way is through the driveway of the neighbor's house. But he couldn't get at it with his equipment. He had to take out 2 big trees to fix it, so. And that's been done, and I'm supposed to have that built tomorrow in time for our meeting, so we should be all set on all our work.
Great.
You moved up the chair for me?
I did.
Thank you, Sue.
Come on.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Where do we want to begin? What are you thinking first? Personnel,
If that's what you want to do,
administration?
4155.
Okay, let's go with that.
All right. And you have your spreadsheet that gives you the backup. Okay. What makes up these numbers?
So we're actually looking at a $6,000 reduction in personnel administration, line 4155.